Half Past Dead was released in 2002. This is a Steven Seagal and Ja Rule action piece and was directed by Don Michael Paul. Don Michael Paul is responsible for two of the Tremors films, I believe five, and then Shrieker Island. He also did some of those like direct-to-video action films, like military action films. He did one called Sniper, something or other, and he's pretty much known for direct-to-video stuff, especially in the action genre. And this one is quite nostalgic for me specifically, but also for the time that it came out when they had a lot of films with they did this with in horror a lot too, where they put a rapper or an R&B star along with like a well-known action hero kind of thing. This one being Steven Seagal. I will mention right off the bat that I am absolutely not a Steven Seagal fan. I don't really have a reason why. He's just always kind of rubbed me the wrong way and never really intrigued me with his films. I guess he didn't take projects that I was interested in, and he just never sold me as an action hero like Stallone and Van Damme does. But Ja Rule, I've always been into his music, and very controversial figure, especially now. But his music has always resonated with me. He's always been a well known rapper when I was like growing up as a teen, kind of thing. And a lot of people, especially I never was a really big rap guy, but a lot of people that were definitely into Ja Rule. So he has a lot of nostalgia for me specifically, and him in any film. I mean, he has some pretty terrible ones, but this one specifically, he's quite good, and he definitely merits being in a film like this and brings it to life, I would say. In other words, he makes up a little bit for Steven Seagal. Although Steven Seagal is not terrible in this film, but we'll get into that. This film it's quite convoluted in parts. It definitely has a lot of plots going on, with each other kind of thing. They overlap, and you got it all takes place in a jail cell. It's called New Alcatraz. I know Alcatraz exists. I've never heard of New Alcatraz, but apparently in this film they call it New Alcatraz because it was rebuilt or something like that. I don't know if any of that's factual or if they just did it for the film, but that's what happens here. Ja Rule is basically a car thief, and he works with Steven Seagal. And at the beginning of the film, there's this guy who is introduced. His name is Sonny. I have no idea why I didn't write down Sonny's last name, but this guy named Sonny comes in and he's giving Steven Seagal a polygraph to see if he's FBI or not, basically. And Ja Rule's like, why the hell are we doing this? I trust the guy. And he passes the polygraph, so he's one of them. And basically, they're taking a joyride in a recently stolen car, and then they go into this warehouse, and the FBI shows up, played by this woman named Agent Williams. And Agent Williams basically busts them, but she first gives a deal where if they give up Sonny, and if they rat him out, essentially, they'll get into witness protection, they won't serve any time, yada yada. It turns into an action spectacle out of nowhere because there's a bunch of action spectacles that literally come out of nowhere, and it's literally insert reason for gunfire. And all the gunfire generally has dual wielding scenes with Ja Rule in this one, and he just whips out two guns, and then of course the FBI agent whips out two guns, and you have this like total 2000s like diving. Everybody's wearing like trench coats, and it's just very kind of Matrix inspired, obviously, but you get a lot of like underworld in there too. The choreography is definitely of this time, and it's just ridiculous because you know that no real life FBI situations turn into this with like bullets just flying everywhere. And of course Ja Rule is being badass as usual. He's like, I don't talk to pigs without my lawyer. And I do like Agent Williams in here because she is like a badass woman, and just the way she presents herself and everything, she looks tough as nails. And I like her presence in the film. She's really really good at playing that character. So basically, yeah, that shootout happens, and then it doesn't go well for either Steven Seagal's character, who's named Sasha, and Ja Rule's character named Nicholas. They revive Sasha, they bring him back to life, and it flashes forward 8 months later into New Alcatraz, and they're both in prison. So they meet up there because they haven't seen each other in 8 months, and Sasha's in there, sees Nicholas. They say like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And they're doing prison time, essentially for the same thing. And the film continues, and we're introduced to this prisoner. This prisoner is the first one to go on death row, or sorry, the first one. Well, he's in death row. He's the first one to be executed, essentially, and they're awaiting his execution. This film has a lot of subtitles saying like what location everybody's in, what room of the prison everybody's in, what time is it. That gets a little tedious and certainly unnecessary, but that again is another trope that these films were loaded with. And what happens to start off the film is you have this crew. They call them terrorists, but it's basically this crew who dives into Alcatraz like by plane. They skydive into this prison, and it's led by Morris Chestnut. Morris Chestnut plays a guy named Donald, I think his name is. And he's leading this crew again. These like expertise, like spy espionage, like crew that's absolutely ridiculous again because they're also all in trench coats. There's scenes where they're walking all tough and badass in sync, and it's just really, really staged and cheesy. And that's what's great about it because everything. This film takes itself way beyond miles long seriously than a film like this needs to take itself. Like that's what makes this film so friggin' enjoyable is how serious everybody is taking these situations with the kind of film that it is because it just so doesn't go. And everybody is like dedicated to the role, which is a good thing at the end of the day. But man, is everybody taking everything way too friggin' seriously. Morris Chestnut, he's just eating up the scenery, chewing the scenery like crazy. He's walking in with this like, there's this other like spy woman, and she is like a knockoff type character of like Celine in Underworld, except not a vampire clearly. But she's got that goth look that like everybody had in the early 2000s. Great character, but cheesy as hell kind of thing. And what this crew wants to do, this crew led by Morris Chestnut, this prisoner that's about to die has gold hidden somewhere, and Morris Chestnut wants to extract his information essentially, and holds him hostage and starts to threaten to like kill other people in the prison. And this woman comes in who is she works in the law system. She's basically a judge essentially with a really fancy title, and she's the one who put this guy away on death row like 25 years before or something. So she comes in to watch the execution, and she herself gets taken hostage by Morris Chestnut and his crew, and they put her in the electric chair, and then the FBI is kind of like negotiating back and forth from the mainland onto Alcatraz and like trying to negotiate because Morris Chestnut is threatening to kill this woman if this guy doesn't give the information. And then there's riots from the prisoners too because they, start to attack, and then they're kind of led by Steven Seagal, who there's this one scene where Steven Seagal is walking with this guard, and Morris's crew comes in and they take down the guard and they start shooting, but Steven Seagal's character falls, his name is Sasha, with the guard, and the guard is shot to death, but apparently Steven Seagal didn't get hit once, so he just pretends to be dead. He falls over and pretends to be dead, and I'm like, did you not, like, with the crew, they didn't notice that they missed Steven Seagal completely? Like, he's able to get away with that, and he just lies on the floor pretending to be dead, and then he peeks up and gets up, and then he's trying to revive the guard. He uses the guard's electric probe to restart his heart, and he uses it as one of those, like, paddles or whatever he uses this probe to like restart his heart, and it's just so stupid. And then Steven Seagal kind of like leads the prisoners to like the armory room where they store all the guns, and like the guards have all these guns, but of course like the armory room has like every gun imaginable. Even one guy gets his hands on a rocket launcher somehow, and there's just like AKs and like Gatling guns in there. It's just absolutely wild what they're storing in this room and how easily accessible it fucking is. Apparently, like, Sasha, played by Steven Seagal, just had to, like, steal the guard's key, and lo and behold, you get this access to a room that looks like the fucking underground Terminator 2 scene. It's just packed with guns. And it just turns into a siege movie. Like, you got prisoners versus this crew versus the FBI versus everybody in Ja Rule, and and Steven Seagal is kind of leading it on two sides. And spoiler alert: Steven Seagal is FBI. You couldn't have guessed that, right? He's basically going undercover because he has really bad history with Sonny, the guy at the beginning of the film, and he was trying to get to him. And Sonny had killed his wife years before, and he's seeking revenge on Sonny, kind of thing. So he went undercover essentially, and actually went to Alcatraz completely undercover, trying to get to Sonny. And there's a betrayal because Ja Rule trusted him, and there's this very like I don't know how to describe it, but this again cheesy like scene where Ja Rule's like, "I trusted you, man. I trusted you, but you betrayed me." It's like trying to be passionate, but in the cheesiest way. I really enjoyed it. Everything's enjoyable. This can you tell I enjoyed this film, even though it's like ridiculous and it falls under bad movie aficionado like crazy, but it just has this charm in it. Midway the film, there's a helicopter that was supposed to be the exit ride for Morris Chestnut's crew, Donald's crew, and this helicopter was supposed to take them away from the prison, but it crash lands into the prison. And it looks ridiculous how it crash lands because it's clearly a set, right? It's clearly a set which has this helicopter like halfway through the roof, and the helicopter's just hanging on the roof. It looks like a set. It looks like it was built on a stage, and just the way the helicopter crashed, it doesn't look realistic because the helicopter should have like blown to pieces or something, but it's still intact and it's like literally halfway through. The front of the helicopter is in the prison and the back of the helicopter is out of the prison. And it just looks funny. And it's utilized at the end of the film where Steven Seagal and Ja Rule kind of hijack the thing and use its weaponry and guns to like blow away the, the people in the prison. So fucking good. The shootouts are fucking beautiful. You have Ja Rule constantly hitting on the female that is in Morris Chestnut's team. You have this character, one of the prisons is named Twitch, and Twitch is definitely the comedic relief of the film. When he shoots the rocket launcher that they find in the armory, he like blows back, and like he's every line that he says is comedical. He's like the funny guy. And there's a credit scene, a post credit scene, while the credits are rolling, of him talking to his girlfriend or wife or whoever who comes to visit him, and his girlfriend is played by Monique, which by itself probably gave this film just half a star more, just for seeing Monique show up at the end of the film talking to Twitch, and they're having the most hilarious conversation. Very, very 2000s again. I found that part hilarious and totally unexpected, and not this is not my first time watching this film. I watched it back in the day, but definitely first time watching it in a while kind of thing. There's a scene where a guy is thrown into, I forget if he's a prisoner or if he's a guard, but he's basically dropped and he has a sign on him saying bye bye. So I'm guessing that was a Die Hard reference. I can't really see it being accidental because it's just so reminiscent to Die Hard that it's funny and it was cool to see. There's a scene where Steven Seagal is pointing a gun at Morris Chestnut and saying that it's loaded, but Morris Chestnut is calling his bluff, and because he's like, "Yeah, I saw you fire that gun a few times. I bet you there's nothing in it." And Steven Seagal is like, "Are you sure you want to test it?" And then he's like, "No, it's not loaded, but or there's no more bullets in it. But how do you know there's not one in the chamber? Hmm? How do you know? Are you sure about that kind of thing?" And he shoots or something, and Morris Chestnut is like, "Yeah, I knew it was a bluff," and Steven Seagal is like, "It wasn't a bluff, it was a misfire." And you get this film loaded with lines like that are just charming as hell and brilliant when it comes to a cheese fest like this. You have the climax of the film where they're in the helicopter and Morris Chestnut has that woman that he was holding hostage that was basically the thread of the whole film, the lawyer, pushes her right off the helicopter. She's free falling, and then here comes Steven Seagal to save the day, jumping out of the helicopter, and he has a parachute, and he's diving, trying to catch this woman in midair so he can pull the chute, and he saves her, and he ends up saving her. And the prisoner who was sentenced to death row, the guy who was supposed to die, I liked his character too. He was very spiritual, and he would bust out a lot of these lines where he would like, the way he talked to people, he was very relaxed and calm, about to be sent to death row. So he he wasn't afraid of death kind of thing, and he was he had a lot of spiritual lines, which I really appreciated. But he's in the helicopter with Morris Chestnut, and then he's surprise, surprise. He opens his coat and he's strapped with bombs, and he is giving his life to take out the bad guys. That ending was cheesy as fuck, but I still loved it, and I really liked the very ending where Steven Seagal comes in and he gives Ja Rule a phone call, and he tells Ja Rule that for everything that he did, he basically has no time to serve in prison anymore. And Ja Rule is like, "Are you bluffing me, man?" And Steven's like, "Are we all right?" And Ja Rule's like, "Nah, we aight," because of the joke at the beginning when they were joyriding in that car. Ja Rule's like trying to get Steven Seagal to sound more gangster, and he's like, it's I. See how I'm saying it? I. And the way only Ja Rule can say I. It's that cool. So that was funny. It's a great fucking cheese fest, man. This film it holds all the nostalgia that I thought it was going to. It's not, you know, in reality a good film, but is it a fun ride? Fuck yes. Like for B movie ness, this is great in my opinion. So it's just a blast to watch. And like I said, I'm a Ja Rule fan. So say what you want about the guy. Call it nostalgia. I like Ja Rule. I just like his charisma, and he's just loaded with charisma. Like I said, I'm not big on Steven Seagal, and I'm watching this film for Ja Rule basically. And Morris Chestnut, he's cool, and yeah, it's a well casted film for what it is. So it's a lot of fun. Go check out Half Past Dead if you haven't. I'm pretty sure it's easy to find. I literally paid like $3 for this. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming until next review. Have a good one. Take care and cheers.